Hey, happy Thursday to everybody. Happy Thursday. If you are on here, please get those likes up, tag anybody, or share this with anybody who you think may find it interesting. And thanks for being here. If you would like to show support to the show, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo Shade. You can also feel free to send in super chats. I will be sure to try to read all super chats that are sent through. So, to get right into today's topic, I'm sure if you have not heard already, Fresh and Fit is yet again trending. Love them or hate them, they do a great job of staying top of mind, staying on everybody's tongue because it seems like every few weeks they're trending for something, some drama. So, like I said, like them or not, their PR person is doing a great job of keeping them front and center. So here again, there's another situation of a fight breaking out on Fresh and Fit. The infamous Tommy Sotomayor got punched in the face by a woman. Some say she was an IG model, others say she's OnlyFans model. I'm not totally sure, but I just know she was a guest on the show. They got into an argument, and things kind of went from there. So I wanted to touch upon this particular situation because I think it highlights a few key points that are worth dwelling a little bit more deeply into. But before I get into those talking points, I want to share, just kind of briefly go over the footage if you haven't had a chance to see it, so you can get a sense of what's going on. And then we'll go from there. So I'm going to bring up really quickly the video of it's just a snippet. It's like a 2-minute snippet, but it shows you like what actually happened. So let me bring that up really quickly. Okay. All right. So I'm going to play this for you. Let me see if I can go back. You did just what I said I wanted to fuck. You literally did. No, I did not. You need a different kind of proof. Son of a bitch. Just up at the gym. For no reason.
No. He not finna try to play me on
Who's playing you, stupid bitch?
No, bitch, you fucking stupid.
Nobody's playing your bitch.
That's why your dick stink. Bitch, get off me.
Okay, so this is literally a mess. Okay. All right. Literal mess. This is literally a mess. Just play it in one more time. You need a different kind of proof. Son of a bitch. Just up at the gym. For no reason.
No. He not finna try to play me.
Who's playing you, stupid bitch?
No, bitch, you fucking stupid.
Nobody's playing your bitch. I'm the world nigga.
That's why your dick stink. Bitch, get off me.
All right. Okay, so I I think you got it. I think you got the picture, you know. So that's beyond toxic. I don't even know how to it just a toxic situation, right? They're on there, things escalate. I mean, I think you can see the full video on Patreon now. They're, you know, capitalizing off the fact that it's gone viral. So I think you can see the full video on Patreon. I mean, if you do a YouTube search, you may be able to see longer snippets of it. But at the end of the day, you know, they kind of went back and forth. She said something, he said something, back and forth, and then it ends up, you know, in a fist fight. Now there is they had, I guess, like a stream. DJ Academics had a stream after the fact where she kind of went and shared a little bit of her perspective on the situation. And I wanted to play this because I think this gives. I think there's a few things that she said that are worth calling out, especially to the beautiful young ladies out there who are in the dating market. So I'm going to play through her perspective. Be mindful, you know, this is what she is saying. We do not know the whole scenario. So all we know is what we see. But again, I want to call a few things out that I think are important taking note of. So I'm gonna just play the audio real quick, and then from what's being said, because sometimes the copyright can get a little tricky. Let me see if I can just play. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna just play the audio, y'all, so you can hear it.
Fashion fit.
Oh, you're a YouTuber. Let them know. Was that staged?
Yes, you guys. Was it staged?
Yeah, was it staged?
Was it real?
Was it real stage?
No, it just happened.
It was
There you go.
fucking
All the
crazy.
haters out there that might say, y'all staged shit, bro. We didn't stage nothing.
It's planned. That was not planned at all.
You gotta get me in there.
Okay, what
I
happened?
don't give a fuck.
What happened, Shay?
I told the truth.
So now she's getting ready to talk. Like I said, I wanted to just play the audio real quick so you can give, you know, the sense of she's sharing her perspective on the story. This is a after party or whatever that DJ Academics had. I can link to this to the description if you guys want to see the whole thing. It's like a 30-minute live. I'm just going to play the audio of a few minutes of it so you can hear her portion of it. But she's speaking right now.
And the truth shall set you free. And that's what happened. A nigga tried me, and I had to show him how to fuck that Texas shit get down. I don't give a fuck, nigga. The truth is the truth. Nigga, you tried to fuck this pussy, Tommy. You flew me out to Atlanta, and I didn't give you no pussy because, nigga, you is weird in real life. You are weird, bro. Your energy, it was not what it was given at all. And I didn't want to fuck, and I made you fly me back to Miami, period.
Damn.
And he did just that, nigga. Book my shit. So I been trying to cap and shit, nigga. You can't cap, bro. I got every messages in my phone, nigga. Yeah, I'm telling you, I got all the messages in my phone. This nigga, why are you going back? Are you sure you are right? Did I do anything wrong, nigga? That shit piling up. Stop playing with me. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like he's moving over to a different section. Let's see. He's walking over.
Show the text message.
Wait.
No. I'm dead.
Wait.
Show the text
Wait.
message. No, bro. Because he not finna try to play me on this podcast when I got the proof in my phone. This nigga was mad. He texted me, are you sure you are right? Why you want to leave? Because I didn't want to be around you no more. Like, this nigga whack as fuck. What's this nigga name? Ain't it like...
But what is it worth the confrontation with the fight, though?
Bro, that nigga tried me, bro. He tried me. He
So were you waiting the whole show to do that?
What?
Were you waiting the whole show to do that?
I wasn't even supposed to even fight him.
Oh, yeah, okay.
No.
Yeah, you didn't know he was here. Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, she didn't know he was going to be here.
I did not.
Yeah, she didn't know.
I didn't know.
She didn't know.
Yeah, she didn't know at all.
I did not know.
Fresh, you know me.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
Guys, you
Here
still
we
alive?
go. Look. What? This is Tommy. What he say? Look. Y'all can get this nigga number. Blow that nigga phone.
No.
Well, fuck that nigga. I'm sorry. I couldn't explain, but I felt like I needed to check on you. Nigga, no response. Nigga blowing me up. And then look at this. The day I was with him in Atlanta, he said, what? Whatever I did wrong, I'm sorry. I said, you did it, I promise. He said, you okay? I said, I made it back safe. Nigga, what? He said, "Good girl, you look beautiful today, by the way. Thank you for coming out." Fuck is you talking about, nigga? I ain't want no fucking dick from you. Fuck.
All right. Well,
Fuck that nigga. You can suck my dick. That ass.
Fresh.
And that's y'all fresh. And even fresh, I swear to God, I wish I would have recorded the conversation. Nigga was talking bad about you and fucking Fit.
oh, for real?
Man, I could call Bladia right now, bro. I would call her on speakerphone and she would tell you. He talk shit about all three of y'all. And he up over here doing a fucking podcast with y'all. That's why I was like, the shit's so fucking fake. Nigga, you was talking dead ass shit about these niggas in Atlanta with us.
Wait, what did he say?
Man, hold on. This Bladia right now. She'll tell you. Bro. Wasn't this nigga fucking Tommy talking shit? What Tommy talking shit about Fresh and Fit, bro? Was it when we was in Atlanta? One Tommy was talking shit about Fresh and Fit in there, bro, in the podcast. Facts, nigga. I don't gotta lie about shit, nigga.
What did he say?
He was talking mad shit. I ain't even gonna go into what this nigga said, but that nigga know what he said. And if any nigga on my mom, I'm so protected. God knows that I'm with it. I'm with whatever type of war he on. Real, I don't give a fuck who he knows. Man, Tommy got finesse for $2,500. What? My bitch finesse Tommy out of $2,500. That's why he really mad. This nigga was throwing slugs at me the whole show, bro. I swear to God, I was letting that shit ride when he was talking about, oh, if you fly a bitch out and she don't fuck you. Bro, I was literally letting that shit ride, bro. But when it came to the end, bro, I was like, bro, this nigga got me fucked up. Bro, I'm drunk, but I don't give a fuck. I'm drunk only because now, bro, I'm really like, he tried me.
So look. I mean,
fuck his old ass. That nigga was talking shit about you. I don't even supposed to be on that nigga team, bro. That nigga he don't even here to get the bag.
So I got. We heard your side.
What is he talking about? Tommy gonna lie.
Oh,
I don't give a fuck. I know it's probably bros before all this bullshit. But one thing about Shay, bro, I always tell the truth on y'all podcasts about how I get down. So one thing for sure, I would never lie about this nigga talking shit about y'all. I don't give a fuck, and I'ma stand all 10 toes on that shit, cause we heard that shit out of our ears. Bro, I should have voice memo that shit. Every conversation, some told me to voice memo, bro, and I did it. Just for the shit like this that just happened. That nigga was talking shit about you.
Okay, let's see. I think she's almost done.
Where you at?
Okay.
Oh, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Come on, Fresh, walking me downstairs. She outside.
Oh.
Don't go downstairs.
Sorry, Christina.
All right. Okay. So, all right. So y'all got a sense of what's going on here. So we played. Quick recap: if you were on here, please get the likes up. We just played the incident. First, we played the incident of when they were back and forth on the podcast and ended up basically having a physical altercation. Then after we played an audio where DJ Academics had, I guess, like an after party, and she was giving her perspective. Again, we don't know the full details. Like we don't know his side of the story. We only heard her side, but I wanted to share that because in that she was explaining a few details. She was explaining her idea of why she believed, he basically deserved to be punched, all that kind of different stuff. Now, here is there's a couple of things that I want to touch upon. First things first, it's often said that, ladies should stop going on Fresh and Fit. They should stop giving them attention, especially Black women. Black women in particular should stop going on Fresh and Fit and being disrespected. I mean, over the last few months, it seems like there's just been story after story of situations where Black women have got into it with people, them being called colorist, them being called all kind of different stuff. And so I've heard this over and over again. Black women need to stop going on there. Here is the reality. Women and Black women will not stop going on Fresh and Fit. You know why? Because at the end of the day, there's always going to be a group of women who simply want attention and who simply want clout. And as long as Fresh and Fit is Fresh and Fit, as long as they continue to get views, as long as every few weeks they're on everybody's tongue, they're trending in YouTube, they're being blown up on World Star Hip Hop, whatever. Like, as long as that happens, you're going to have women and you're going to have African American women continue to go on the show, continue to get in situations where they keep, be disrespected, continue to get in arguments with people. It's not going to stop because women. There's a group of women out there at the end of the day who simply want attention. They simply want clout. They want to go in there. They want to be seen. They want to be in the know. They want people to know them. That's always going to happen. So, if people think that we see these kind of situations, we see arguments, we see fights breaking out, we see women cussing at one another, we see, violence. If people think this is going to persuade women to not go on the show, that you are far mistaken. Because like I said, at the end of the day, as long as they can get attention, there are going to be women who will go on there strictly because they want attention, period. And like I said, this is consistent with their brand. I mean, I've never really watched them. I've seen snippets, but every snippet that I've seen, this kind of seems to be their MO. There's drama. It's kind of like ratchet central behavior. Like that is their brand. They're talking to, people who are in the stripper industry, the adult entertainment industry, however you want to put it. So it's like, there's a certain lifestyle that comes with that. And it just is what it is. So a woman who's coming on the show, getting involved in that kind of stuff, she already knows what she's going to be dealing with. And that's just what comes with it. But like I said, I hear different channels, different people over here being like, y'all Black women, you need to stop disrespecting yourself. You need to stop going on there and having these people disrespect you. And at the end of the day, like I said, that's not going to stop. Fresh and Fit are going to continue to have women. They're going to continue to have women of color and Black women come on there and be situations where they may have altercations, they may whatever, because at the end of the day, many women just want attention, period. If you're on here, please get those likes up. Tag anybody on this discussion, share it with someone who you think may find it interesting. So I wanted to touch upon that. Why I believe, like I said, women will continue to go on Fresh and Fit. They're going to continue to go on Fresh and Fit. Like, it's what it is. Now, secondly, you said drama for your mama. Absolutely. It's just, y'all, it's just drama. It's just drama. And after a while, it's just like, that's why I've never really been one that's watched their content because that stuff doesn't really speak to me. But like I said, they do a great job of trending and literally always being top of mind. They're always on YouTube. They're always trending somewhere, Instagram, Twitter. Like I said, their PR is doing a great job of making sure that they are continuing to be inserted in the conversation. Now, another thing I wanted to go over is just talking about just domestic violence. The reason I wanted to highlight this is because their interaction. Now, granted, as far as I know, they aren't dating, right? As far as I know, they weren't in a relationship. They just came on as different guests. But either way, their interaction was at the end of the day, you had a grown man and a grown woman who were fighting. She was the first one to throw the punch. She was the first one to hit him. And then it ended up turning into an altercation. God only knows if there weren't people there who were trying to pull them apart, if there weren't people there who were trying to make sure, like just trying to defuse the situation, God only knows what could have happened. She could have really gotten hurt. But either way, we saw a situation. She threw a punch first. They're going back and forth. They're yelling. Here is the thing. Here's what I think is important about this. This scenario is so much more common. It's so much more common than what we want to think. How many times have we heard in these domestic violence situations, right? How many times have we heard when it comes to violence that it's always portrayed that men are the violent ones. Men are the most violent, especially the Black community. Black men are beating their women. Black men are the ones, abusing their women. Black men are belligerent. Black men are this. We need to divest. We need to A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. Black men are this. All kinds of different stuff. But the reality is when you look at the data, what we find time and time again is that violence is bidirectional. meaning it is women and men hitting each other. And more often than not, it is women initiating. It is women initiating violence. Women initiating violence. Again, I want to reiterate. It is women initiating the violence. We saw that in this situation here. She was the first one to throw the punch. Yes, they were talking back and forth. They were yelling back and forth, but she was the first one to hit him. What to me was the most alarming about the situation was that she was so comfortable doing that. It was like for her, and then she uses a scenario just like, oh, you know, I'm from Texas. This is what we do. Listen, my family's from Texas. I got family in Texas now. I got some of my best friends down there in Texas. I got married in Texas. I'm very familiar with that area. Just because you come to Texas don't mean that you're going to be fighting everybody. Now, maybe her family, where they're from, that's how they do things. But I'm like, don't say just because you're from Texas, if you get in my nerves, I'm gonna beat you. Like, no, like no. But to me, what was interesting is that she felt so comfortable approaching this grown man, right? That in many instances was, you know, larger than her, probably stronger than her. She felt comfortable coming at him as if he is her physical equal. He's her physical equal. And like I said, luckily there's people there. Luckily, there was people there to break up the situation so it didn't diffuse into anything like worse. But had it just been those two, God only knows what could have happened. And y'all already know, if it had just been those two in a scenario, the police shows up, she got blood in her face, you know what I mean? He got a few bruises. Who's going to jail? Who's the one being blamed? Is it going to be her? No. So, like I said, to me, what was so interesting about the scenario is how she was so quick. She was so quick to initiate. And then also, again, the reason I wanted to play the aftermath is because there was no remorse. There wasn't like, man, I'm sorry I lost my temper. Man, we could have handled this a different way. She was just like, he deserved it. I would have done it again. I would have done it again. And like I said, well, again, we go over the numbers. It is women who are initiating the violence majority of the time. I'm not saying men obviously are, you know, there's violence happening. And then usually when men fight, when they fight back, women usually have more physical repercussions because we are physically weaker, generally speaking. But who was the one initiating the violence? It tends to be women more. And like I said, I so often hear this narrative, right, of all these men are going around here being violent. All these men are going around here beating women. And I don't want to minimize the fact that absolutely and totally happens, especially in our personal relationships. And I don't want to minimize that. But what we rarely talk about is the way that women provoke sometimes, and the way that women, in certain ways, almost put themselves in these situations, put themselves in these scenarios. And this is what we saw here. She was so quick. She was so quick to throw a punch. She was so quick to do that. And like I said, without any remorse, as if she was hitting another female, as if she was going for another female. And I'm like, honey, you're going for a grown man. And you do that to the wrong person and nobody's around you to break you apart, you can be really put in danger. You could really be put in danger. You do that with some other random dude that you don't like the way he looks at you. You don't like the way he talks to you. You know what I mean? You feel like he's disrespectful and you start coming at him like he's your physical equal. You could end up in a lot of trouble. And I don't understand what it is about us women where we feel like we have the right to just be picking fights with men and it's not going to have repercussions. And that's what I'm saying. When we look at the data, all across the board. This is not just the Black community. We've seen this in the white community, and Hispanic community. I talked about this in my False Promise of Black Love video. I also talked about on another video, Are Black Men the Most Violent? We looked at the domestic violence rates, and we saw that bi-directional violence is very common, and more often than not, women are initiating it. So like I said, we can no longer say that men are just, you know, beating us up, and we're just laying down, and we're just taking it. Y'all know Black women better than that. Y'all know Black women better than that. What Black woman you know just gonna be hit upside the head or gonna have you talking to her some kind of way and she ain't gonna pop back out the mouth. And in some cases, try to hit you. She did. So if you were on here, please get those likes up. Shout out to Marco Polo for the $4.99 on the super chat. Let me see. Okay, so I see everybody should keep their hands to themselves. Clap. Everybody should keep their hands to themselves. I completely agree. As I said before, they walked into this situation knowing what was going to happen. Well, not knowing what was going to happen, but Fresh and Fit, they have a brand, you know, and they've had plenty of situations before, people getting into it, you know what I mean? People going back and forth. So this is not surprising. This kind of seems consistent with the kind of content and the kind of people they have coming on there. Not surprising. But what to me, why this is so key is because what we see is what to me she represented is a common idea that many women have out there, that if they just feel uncomfortable, you know what I mean, if a guy's disrespecting them, that they can physically go at him. Listen, I'm not saying Tommy Sotomayor was right. I'm not saying, because the back and forth from what I've seen, it sounded completely and totally disrespectful. He was saying some things that are out of pocket. She was saying some things out of pocket. So I'm not over here trying to paint him as the victim, her as the victim, or as the villain, or vice versa. But what I'm saying is, as women, when we try to act like we are literally equals in men, especially when it comes to things like fighting, that can be a very dangerous thing. And unfortunately, when we talk about domestic violence, we have to stop the narrative that says it's these Dusties beating us, these men are beating us, these black men are beating us, these yada, 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 because in reality, what's happening is that we are the ones that are initiating. If you do not believe me, look at the stats. I've addressed this time and time again in my videos. So if you don't believe me, look at the numbers. And like I said, this is a prime example. And we as women do ourselves a great disservice. We put ourselves in potentially harmful scenarios because it just so happens, she was in a situation there where people were there to break her apart. God forbid she's at a club, right? Maybe somebody steps on her shoe. Somebody she feels like, you know, answers rudely, gives her a weird look. She had too much to drink. She had a bad day. She got in an argument with her cousin. Now she wants to pick a fight with a dude that's a foot taller than her. And how is that going to look? How is that going to look? Hopefully the man in that situation has enough self-control to not engage, but not everybody does. And like I said, she picks a fight with the wrong person. That can be dangerous. And that's what I'm saying. Somewhere us women, we have gotten this idea that it is okay to pick fights, to initiate physical fights with men who are bigger than us. And I'm like, in what scenario is that okay? In what scenario is that good? Like, to me, like I said, I think this could have been diffused, but here we are. Also, I want to give a shout out to Percy with the 5 on the super chat. I see.
I said this black.
Oh, wrong one. Let me see. She felt safe because it was in a studio with security. She would have never done that alone. Fair point. Hopefully she does not do that alone. Either way, though, I mean, that's a whole nother situation. Like I said, everybody has a different way of handling things. Everyone has a different way of handling things. I personally probably would not have wanted to handle it that way, as, okay, I'm going to argue you down and then swing by fist. And like I said, when she went back, she said that when they did the after party, she was like, I don't have no remorse for it. Let me see. Unpopular opinion alert. I'm glad she hit his punk ASS. Tommy has shown time and time again to be a dirtbag and has no honor. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I haven't watched enough of Tommy Sotomayor to make a judgment on how he is. I know from what I've heard, he's controversial. I know he's been in the space for a very, very long time, but I haven't really watched him long enough to be able to say, this is what he promotes is really bad or really evil. I just don't know. Like I said, I've seen different snippets to me that I'm like, yeah, this is not. I don't agree with a lot of things that you're saying, but there's never a situation where I would promote hitting anybody. I mean, unless it's like you are literally this person is like pounding on you and you're defending yourself. But anyway, so like I said, that's what we see here. We see them going back and forth. She's initiating a fight. Earlier, Percy made a good point that it could have been she felt safe because of the security and that she would not have done that by herself. It's very much a possibility. But it still stands that when we look at the data, when we strictly look at the data, let's just assume that's true, right? Percy, let's assume that's true, that if she's by herself, she'd never do it. She would have never in any situation initiate a fight with a man, by herself. Let's assume that's true. When we look at the data, however, women in general are still initiating fights. And you know what? Just because I want to bring this point along, I'm gonna bring up. Let me bring this up because I can play this for y'all real quick. Some of y'all have already seen my video, but I want to play this for you because we can actually look at the numbers of how often women are actually initiating violence, just to try to bring this point home. So let me pull this up really quick so y'all can see what I'm talking about, and then we'll move on to the next point. So let me see if I can pull it up. Okay. All right. Let me see. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Because I've been over this before, but I know sometimes you're not always able to get all the content, and I want to drive this home. This is important. This is I think important to drive home because again, what I said, what we saw, what we witnessed there was not an uncommon scenario, and that to me is what is so interesting and disturbing about this. So let me go. I'm going to share this, bring up this video. Some of you guys have seen it. Some of you may not have seen it. Some of you may have seen partial of it, but I want to go over this one section where I break down. We break down the numbers. Actually, let me see. Why are you being weird now? Okay, sorry. Now Chrome has wanted to be all weird. I hate when this happens. Okay. Y'all give me 1 second. That's so weird when that happens. Let's see. Where are you?
Is
all right. Alrighty. Okay, here it is. Sorry about that, y'all. I was getting some.
Listen, if you truly want to gain the skills,
ads. Okay, now let me try to pull it up this way. I don't know why it was letting me do that. Let me try this. Is this what it is? Okay, so like I said, some of y'all have probably seen this, but I wanted to go over again. This is just one section where it breaks down BV. Again, why is this important? We're always talking about why women need to be safe with men, all this kind of different stuff. We're always talking about how Black men are the most violent, dusties, abusive, etc., etc. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that women right now are a lot more violent than what we want to actually admit. This is an important point. So, okay, I'm gonna play this. Violence.
Most ethnicities have high rates of bi-directional violence. While men are more likely to commit violent crimes, the data shows that interpersonal violence is typically initiated by women. According to a collaborative study by the Journal of Partner Reviews and the Association of Domestic Violence Intervention Program, 50.9% of domestic abuse among whites was interpersonal compared to 49% among Latinos and 61.8% among African Americans. Now, in terms of initiation, black women are 2.27 times more likely to initiate violence towards black men compared to white women, who are 2.26 times more likely to initiate violence towards white men, and Hispanic women, who are 1.24 times more likely to initiate violence against Hispanic men. Reasons for this are inconclusive, but women are now fighting back, and in many instances, fighting first. This is true across all ethnicities, and especially in the cases of black women. Regarding science, technology.
Okay. Okay, so can you guys, okay, oh, you said it was echoing. Okay, were you guys able to hear it? Okay, were you guys able to hear it? No? Oh man. Okay. So if you guys, sorry about that. So if you were having an issue with the echo, check that part out. I was trying to review the exact numbers. Check that part out. It's in the False Promise of Black Love. Basically, though, what it was saying was that so black women are 2.27 times more likely to initiate violence towards black men. White women are 2.26 times more likely to initiate violence against white men. And then Hispanic women, I think it was like 1.3, it's somewhere around. So basically what that's saying is that for every one time that a black man initiates violence against black women, 2.27 black women are initiating towards men. So women are more than twice as likely to initiate violence in that context than black men. And then, like I said, it's pretty consistent for white women, Hispanic, across the board. So again, I was trying to go across the numbers. If you missed it, if you want to see it, you can check it out on my False Promise of Black Love video. Also, you can see it in our Black Men the Most Violent, a video I dropped a few months ago. But again, wanting to reiterate this point that, y'all, women, we are the ones many of the times that are initiating violence. And this is not to in any ways minimize the verbal back and forth, the verbal abuse. I'm not saying that, you have to you just have to be taken advantage of. I'm not saying any of that kind of different stuff, but I'm saying she in that situation was the one who threw the first punch. And she represents many women right now across the board who feel comfortable doing so. Shout out to Philip with the 25 on the super chat. Much all right. So it says, hey, C, stay on it. Stay on it. Thank you for okay. Thank you for that, for the super chat. Also, it looks like I got some cash apps here. I want to show some love and support to while we're on here. Cash apps. I see Hakeem for the $7.50 super chat. Must appreciate it. It says, for much love, sis. I appreciate it. Much appreciated. Also want to give a shout out to I think it is Ebby Eden for the 5.10 on the super chat. Much appreciated. And again, for the $10 super chat from Hakeem yet again. It says for they're suppressing your channel notification, sis. Y'all, I'm not even gonna lie. Yeah, like my last few videos, the views have just been like, whoo. And that's real. The algorithm, it does its own weird thing sometimes. But anyways, like I said, I appreciate those of you who are bearing with me. If you ever like the video content, share it, like it, all that kind of different stuff, because algorithm sometimes can be your friend or it can not be your friend depending upon the day. So, but I think I got every. Oh no, it looks like there's one more. For JoJo, it says, F and F openly discussed in content for Black women publicly. We don't rock with folks off code. Tommy has been off code for years. He has been bashing Black women for a long time. He had it coming. So it sounds like you take the position that Tommy Sotomayor, that he deserved it. But Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So, like I said, when we look at the situation, we look at the numbers. At the end of the day, this is a lot more common. Some would argue, look, dude deserved it. He's out of pocket. He's been disrespectful to women. He's been disrespectful to Black women. The podcast is fresh and fit. They're disrespectful. So, some would argue that they deserve it. But at the end of the day, the bigger picture, what I wanted to highlight is that this is a lot more common than what we want to think. Women being the first to throw the punch. Was it right or not? Should he have said some of the things that he said? No. But she felt comfortable doing it. And we will look at the numbers. A lot of women these days are feeling that way. This goes across ethnicity. This is not just black folks. This is white folks, Black folks. Like I said, look at the numbers. If you don't believe me, simply look at the numbers. Okay, so now the next point too, I wanted to talk about, because this question of, did Tommy Sotomayor deserve to get punched? What's interesting, a thing about this dialogue is that if the genders were reversed, if he was the one that initiated the punch, if he was the one where we saw him hit her face, this question, this would never be a question. I can't think of any scenario where a man openly hits a woman, where a man initiates hitting a woman, and it's considered acceptable. I can't think of any situation. And to me, what that shows me is, again, while we can act like we live in this equal society and, women try to push for equality, all this kind of different stuff, at the end of the day, many of us women still deserve privileges or still deserve double standards that work in our favor. This being one situation, she could hit a dude, initiate a fight, nobody bats an eye. Many of us are used to it. Many of us are accustomed to women hitting men. We've seen that sometimes in shows and just kind of like laughed at. Many of us are accustomed to it. A woman hits the man, kicks a man, punches a man. It's kind of like, not a big deal or whatever. But if it was the other way around, this would not be a question. There would never be a situation where a man could initiate a punch or initiate anything violent towards a woman, and we would start to consider whether or not it was valid or not. That would never happen. And to me, what that shows is that, again, these double standards are real. They're strict. They're real. And, we can act like they don't matter. You know what I mean? We can act like, we can try to pretend when we can try to say we want equality, we can try to say that we desire equality and all these kind of different stuff, and we want to be treated a certain way. We can say that, but when it comes to situations like this, we still want those privileges, right? We still want the chivalry. We still want guys to pay for us. We still want guys to do the 50-50. But if it comes down to it and he gets on our nerves and we feel disrespected, we want to be able to hit him. We want to be able to initiate it, but not be held responsible for the consequences of that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if this was the other way around, there would never, ever be a situation where a man could initiate or hit a woman and do anything physical towards her, and it would be considered acceptable. Not one. Again, I'm not saying he was right. I'm not saying she was right. The whole situation, in my humble opinion, just seemed like a mess. But like I said, that seems to be consistent with Fresh and Fit's brand, and that's what they deal with. So that's what they do. But again, I think, to me, what this is representing, we're seeing these double standards. The fact that we're having these conversations, people are saying, oh, he deserved it. You know what I mean? People saying he deserved it. If it was the other way around, if he was the one that initiated the punch, and they said, oh, well, she deserved it. She deserved to be hit. She deserved to be punched. People may think that, you know what I mean? But that's not a good look. And I this is my personal opinion, I could be wrong on this, but I think just because, historically, there is a lot more when it comes to domestic violence, especially, like, men generally have a lot more at stake to lose just because of just the nature of the system and just nature of them being stronger and all the kind of different stuff. So I would think that men would tend to be a little bit more, this is not always the case, but just generally speaking, I would think a man would tend to be more cautious when it comes to physically exerting himself because the repercussions are going to be more real and they're usually going to be more harsh. Whereas a woman, slap a guy, it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe he deserved it. And is that fair? Is that fair? So, to me, those are just some of the things that stood out to me. And like I said, we can all go back and forth and say this is his fault, her fault. You know what? They're grown adults. It is what it is. Another thing that was interesting to me was that in her response, where she was basically saying she deserved it, she had kind of made the situation of him flying her out, right, and then him being whack or whatever. So she decided not to sleep with him, and then she flew back home. Already, that whole situation just sounds like, to me, just sounded very, very questionable. But what I would say is just women, period. Why ever put yourself in a situation where, I just think in general, women, you should not put yourself in a situation where you are vulnerable, where you don't know a dude. So I don't care if he's flying you out. We can think of the situation with the Tinder swindler, if you haven't seen that movie, or if you haven't seen the documentary, right? Where basically dude was how do you put it? Like, yeah, he was, if you actually see the initial first dates, he was flying these women out on their private jets, asking them for passport asking them for their passports, taking them on very intimate excursions. It all seemed beautiful and it all seemed, like a dream come true. But they didn't know this dude from Adam. And because they didn't know this dude from Adam, they got taken advantage of. You know what I mean? And here's a situation. She's saying that she got flown out. Some people are saying, I mean, who knows whether or not it's true? But just my bigger point is, I feel like women in general, if you are actively wanting to actually be in a relationship, et cetera, it's not a good look to be going out with people that you don't really know, that you don't know like that. Now, yeah, some people are saying, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the comments here, but it's just general rule of thumb. I'm talking about if you want a serious relationship. Now, women outside of that who are doing adult entertainment stuff, that's a whole different conversation. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm talking to you ladies out there who actually do who are like, hey, I want to meet somebody. I want to maybe meet a real potential. You don't need to be putting yourself in situations where you're about to be vulnerable. That's why I say, my policy as far as like first dates, like you meeting up with the person, keep it casual. Don't be having him spend all this kind of money on you on the first date, because 9 times out of 10, he's going to expect something. That's not fair to him. That's not fair to you. You're putting yourself in a situation like, why you need to be going to a 4 or 5 star dinner, meeting him 9 o'clock at night, you in a tight dress and heels. You know what I mean? You're already putting yourself in an environment where he got one thing on his mind. You're looking good. He's thinking, okay, after I paid this money, like something's about to happen. Bad idea. If you really want to get to know the person, no pressure. You know what I mean? He's not thinking like, okay, I'm getting something. Like, you should be meeting, chill environment, meet during the day, meet early, grab some coffee, you know what I mean? Neutral place. There's people around you. There's no pressure to have to try to like be hypersexual. Like, just get to know the person, and then maybe, like I said, if you guys have figured out, oh, this is a real deal, she's like a keeper or he's a keeper, then maybe after that you can think about maybe having dates during the night or doing something that's fun, but it's a little bit more serious. But I'm like, earlier on, I hear women talk about, oh, first dates, he need to be doing this, he need to be taking me out here and there, and I'm like, that's a bad deal. Which you don't understand, if a dude's paying that money on you, you don't think he has something that he wants? Most men out there, like, they're logical. They're not just like trying to just waste money like that. Now, I guess there's quote unquote simps who will do that, but most men, like, if they're spending some money on some cash on you, they want to return. And if you don't want that pressure, it's like, don't put yourself in a situation where it's pressure. Get to know the person, and then you move on. Now, I understand some women use those dates as a way to get the fine dining experience because they won't be able to get it any other way. And to me, I think that's kind of using a person. my personal opinion. It's like, if the only way you can get nice luxury dinners is if somebody else that you don't know pays for it, I think you might want to change your strategy. But that, that's just my opinion. Again, and this is again about you being safe. I know this may not be as fun, may not be as cool, but I'm talking about you being safe, navigating in the dating and actually finding somebody that's worth it. Not just getting yourself in a situation where now you feel like you're pressured to have sex, you're pressured to do something you don't want to do. Now you're upset, he's upset, and it's just a mess. It's just like, y'all be safe, be secure. So anyway, shout out to the beautiful Lie with the $19.99 on the super chat. Okay, I see exceptionally. Wait, let me see. Disappointed in the state of femininity, masculinity in our community on display here. Females comfortable initiating physical violence towards males, and males in the chat defending it based on feelings. As I said before, I see respectfully now. Yeah, I know. Well, a couple of things. As I mentioned before, yeah, unfortunately, women right now are the ones initiating violence at a higher rate. We look up studies, list those the different studies, peer-reviewed studies that I've looked at. It's a little bit inconclusive as to why. There's different theories, but it's inconclusive. But either way, women are fighting more. At the very least, they're fighting first. It just is what it is. So that's what we saw in the situation. And I think it is a bad idea as a woman to feel so comfortable initiating a violent exchange with a man. Just for the simple nature of the fact that like men are generally stronger. And yeah, we can take self-defense to do different things, but why put yourself in a situation where you are now going head to head with a man? To me, that just seems very masculine, if I'm just being honest. This is being very masculine. So, and I know when it comes to the whole dating policy, that my keep it casual, keep it safe, that's certainly not as popular. I've seen a lot of femininity channels out there who, share a different narrative. They'll say he need to be paying this amount of money. If he ain't dropping this dime on the initial date, it's not worth it. But to me, as far as a long-term strategy, I don't think that's smart. And like I said, coming from a male's vantage point, if a man has decided to spend his hard-earned cash on money on a woman on the first date, you best believe he usually is going to want something. And do you really want that pressure from a guy that you don't know? And if you are simply using these dates as a meal ticket, as a way to get luxury dining, stop. You maybe you need to get another strategy. I don't know, maybe save up more, get a higher paying job, but we shouldn't be using man as just like a meal ticket. That is bad. And that's why you got dudes out there like SYSBM. We need to understand as women, we can have all these desires and we can have all the things we want. I hear it all the time. How many channels out there are talking about what women want? Women don't settle for this. Women don't settle for that. Women, you are the prize. Women have your standards. We've all heard it before. Granted, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having standards, but if you want a man, you also need to know what that man wants. You also need to be male identified. Women who want to marry, women who want men need to be male identified, period. They need to know what the man wants. So we can have all the stuff that we're talking about for dating, but we need to know what men are thinking too, so that you can actually land something that's going to work for you. That's my position on it. But anyway, so I wanted to just share, like I said, here's just a quick recap, and I'll open up the phone lines for a bit. As I said before, women ain't gonna stop going on Fresh and Fit, period, because women want attention. Not all women, but there are enough women out there who simply want attention and clout that they will go on there. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter if they, call all women out of their name, of all ethnicities. It don't matter. Because they are popular and because they are trending every few weeks, women are going to continue to go on because they want the clout, period. So there's no way around it, right? Again, as I mentioned before, domestic violence rates, we can all pretend like men are the ones that are around here beating up, being abusive. They're the ones that are the violent, belligerent ones. When we look at the numbers, we see that women are very violent these days. We see the bi-directional violence is pretty substantial compared to the DV in general, and that women are the ones who are initiating violence many of the times. So just don't act like women are just these oppressed. They are just these docile, soft, and gentle, and helpless women who are just all these men are just taking advantage of them. No, we have a prime scenario there of a grown man and a grown woman that got in an altercation. She threw a punch at him and felt comfortable doing so. Many women feel that way. So that's what I'm saying. When we start talking about violence, we have to do it from a lens of what is actually going on. And what is actually going on right now is that men and women are fighting each other. And women, many of the times, are initiating first. Then my third point is, what is interesting to me in this scenario is that we see how while there continues to be this talk for equality between men and women, all this kind of different stuff, right? And women in many instances want equality when it benefits them. When it comes to situations like this, had the genders been swapped, had Tommy Sotomayor been the one that hit the woman first, would there ever be a conversation that said she deserved it? Would that ever be accepted? My opinion is that 9 times out of 10, no. There is never a scenario where a man could initiate hitting a woman, can be violent towards a woman. There's never a scenario that can happen, and he will be justified. Never. It does not matter. It just is not. It's not a part of the conversation. So to me, that shows that there is a bit of a double standard. Period. And this is not for me to villainize him or villainize her. It is what it is. But what we see is that in this prime scenario, the standards are just simply not equal. It doesn't matter how you put it. So those are some of the things that I, looking at that, and I would encourage women to not initiate physical altercations with men, even if they're being disrespectful. I think there's a way to handle it in a way that doesn't put you in and potentially at arms, in harm's way. Because like I said, there were grown adult men there to kind of help diffuse the situation. But God forbid she carried that attitude with her in another place. Maybe she's drunk, she's not in the right state of mind. She could get hurt. And that happens. That does happen. So those are my thoughts on the position. Those are my thoughts. I do have a few minutes for calls. If anybody wants to share their 2 cents on the scenario, let's see. Yeah, so if anybody wants to share their 2 cents on the scenario, like I said before, I don't know enough about Tommy to really say either or. But just general rule of thumb, there's never a situation that I can think of where I would want to be like, oh, I'm justified in hitting this person. I think avoid violence at all costs, especially as a woman. I'm thinking, hey, as a woman, that is going to be incredibly dangerous if you find yourselves, fighting with a grown man. But like I said, that's just me. And it seems very masculine. Honestly, there were other men there. So God forbid she was in a situation where she was in harm's way, yada, yada, yada. I'm thinking it maybe would have made more sense for a man. Like a man would have been a better physical match for Thomas Sotomayor was a man, not her. Not her. So just the whole situation to me just sounded, it was a mess. But to me, I think this brings me to a bigger point of this question of the very fact that I can say, did Thomas Sotomayor deserve to be punched? The very fact that is a question to me shows that this double standard very much does exist. So I have a few minutes to take some calls. Again, if you were on here, please get those likes up. Likes are free. Also, if you would like to show support to the show, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo. Also, I will be sure to read all super chats. So please feel free to send me super chats if you want to make that your comment is read. Much appreciated. Okay, looks like we have a few callers here. Hello.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Okay, so I mean, what do you think? I went over a lot, but what do you think based upon some of the different things I shared? The bidirectional violence, just her comfort initiating to me, which I found really really interesting. Whether or not you feel like you deserved it. I mean, what do you think? What this shows about relationship dynamics in general? What are your thoughts in this whole scenario?
Um, the way I've been taught, and I can say the way that my grandfather taught all of my females cousins, he had a phrase. He said, "Never step into a man's world," meaning you
Okay.
put your hands on that man. It's not okay for him to hit you. He should not be hitting you. But should you strike him, you've kind of thrown decorum out the window.
Mm.
So that's the thing that I feel needs to really be taken into account there. Because frankly, you don't know certain people's mind states.
You
There are
don't.
some people like you hit them, and it's not just a boom, boom, get off me. It's some people neutralize the threat, and you don't know who you're dealing with till you're dealing with them. I
Yes.
think that's when it comes to men interacting, there's that recognition that at a certain point in time, it's better for me to fall back than the consequences of the fallout should I try to press this. And I think that's something that some women don't have, just simply because they don't necessarily have that conscious threat of violence.
Right, because they're not being taught like a man. You were saying, growing up as a man, like your grandparents, right, are teaching you, raising you like a man, like a boy, but they're probably not assuming like you have a granddaughter. You're not saying, yeah, if a female steps up on you, like I guess you're just not thinking that women are going to be as violent. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know things have changed now, but for me, like that, it makes sense by nature of men being more, maybe naturally more aggressive in certain things and just knowing how to navigate. So you're taught, yeah, like don't purposefully initiate. If you got to protect yourself, that's a different thing. But certain people are crazy. So like you don't want to just be picking fights like it's no big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me that was one of the biggest lessons here. This is not the first time I've seen this. You see different stuff online of women picking fights, hitting against men, and luckily in some of those scenarios, I'll see a man and he's like, he may be taking it. He's just like, look, hands off, and she's just flying at the handles. You see people laughing in the comments. You may see people like, oh, well, wonder what he did, yada yada. But it's just like, why? The very fact that we can have conversations about whether or not he deserves it, again, to me shows that there is a double standard. Like I said, if it was the other way around, it wouldn't happen. And I'm not saying that she deserves it, he deserves it. This is not about penalizing. It's just me painting the picture that the standards are not equal, and we can pretend like they are, but they're not. And these kind of scenarios show it.
Yeah, and from a male perspective as well, like that's a scary situation to be in.
Yes.
Because I know I do feel I have my own personal theory on it. I feel like because we're majority Christian society, we're typically taught women are the weaker vessel. And I feel that there's kind of a fallacious assumption that as women being the weaker vessel, they're no threat to a man, which is not the case at all.
It's not.
Having been in a situation where it's like, you're being assaulted by a woman, it is very much from a male perspective, it's very scary because it's one of those things like, okay, yeah, her punches might not hurt, but what if she picks up something? What if she grabs something? What if she makes her way to a weapon? Where do we go from here? And on top of that, like if I have to take action, all right, especially as a black man, like
no, it's all bad. It's all bad, and that's what I was saying, because it's like, and I painted in that picture. It's like, let's pretend they're a couple. Okay, let's pretend they're a couple, and they're married, and she could be out of pocket, hitting them with pans. You know what I mean? Kicking him. He's protecting himself. She calls the police. They come in, and she has bruises on her body. It don't matter. He's going to jail. Period. he is going to jail. And I wonder if maybe consciously or subconsciously, it's like when we're aware of that, we're aware that we live in a society where it's like, yeah, you can hit a man, you can kick him, you can slap him, whatever. And it's like, okay. But if it's the other way around, and again, I just tend to be like, yeah, don't get yourself in a situation like that. You don't like try to provoke a man as a woman. That is a bad idea. Because like you said, all it takes is the wrong man to be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's a wrap. So our women are big and violent. They aren't little. And that's true. You do have some women out there that can put a hurting on a grown man. I ain't gonna lie about that. That's true. But also men, like, Americans, period. If you look at the rates, Americans, period, are overweight. And we know you take your average woman that's, let's say a woman that's 5'6" and a man that's 5'6", they both weigh 170 pounds. By default, the man's probably going to be stronger. Like, it just is what it is, So, yeah, it's a trip. I would never recommend any woman, like I said, unless she's literally having to physically protect herself because she's in a situation where violence is.
Yeah, I think that's a different type of situation.
Yeah,
like, I've seen situations where things have just kind of escalated, and like you were saying earlier in your monologue, like, for a woman to just haul off, slap a guy, hit him or whatever, it's kind of like, oh well, whatever. And to my point earlier, like you never know somebody's mind state. Like even if they normally aren't that type of guy, you don't know what type of day they have. Today just might be the day.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, luckily they were able to de-escalate it for the most part. But I'm like, hopefully, I'm just saying, having that behavior, if a woman has that mindset of this dude gets on my nerves, whatever, I have the right to initiate punches, I have the right to physically. That's a bad look. It just is. It's just a bad look.
Agreed.
So, yeah, but I do appreciate you calling on.
Thank you. Hope you have a great one.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, you guys. So I mean, like I said, it's been that to me, like I said again, that was the most interesting thing to me. I was like, man, she was so quick to. Not only was she so quick to do it, when you heard her response, she was like, it was almost like I'd do it again. Like she wasn't even tripping off of it. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of women that have that idea. And I personally think that is a dangerous mindset to have as a woman. That's different than I know how to protect myself in the event I find myself in an unsafe scenario that was outside of my control. Somebody trying to maybe grab my purse or something like that. That's different. That is totally different than you being in a situation where you're arguing with somebody, going back and forth. Maybe there are opportunities to disengage, or maybe there are opportunities to diffuse a situation. Somehow it turns into a physical altercation as if that person is your physical equal. That can be very dangerous. As the earlier caller mentioned, if it's the wrong person, it could be the wrong person. It's a bad rap. Yes. Shout out to Yardley with the 2 on the super chat. I so agree. Ladies, please just remain safe. Yes, please remain safe. A lot of times I hear the conversations around DV and all this kind of different stuff. And what was rarely talked about is the behavior of the women in those scenarios. And you got to wonder, are there situations that end up physical that could have been diffused? And are we also taught about how to navigate, conflict management and diffuse situations so they don't turn into what we saw there? Okay, looks like I have another caller. Hey there.
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. So what are your thoughts? I mean, there's a lot.
There's so much
back here. Yeah.
There's so many angles. If I can preach anything, not like I'm even in a position to do so, but I just think that any conversation that we have, it needs to be rooted in empathy. And I always speak about this whenever I'm on a platform, whenever I'm talking to people in real life, day-to-day conversations. There has been no empathy for Black men damn near since the first viewing of Birth of a Nation. Like, it don't exist.
No,
like,
it doesn't.
So when we have this conversation, there's about 4 or 5 different angles. One angle, he shouldn't have hit her back, as if he doesn't have emotions or pain receptors, or he's just some infallible Iron Man that just is supposed to be stoic in any type of situation. 2, he hates black women, so therefore he deserves to get punched in the mouth. As if talking about bad behaviors is automatically related to black women, because he talks about white women. He talks about women in general. Does he specify black women in certain situations? Yes. And this is not even a person that really likes his content, but I think I do need to watch people before I criticize him. If I think that a movie's ass because of preview, I probably should watch it before I say it's ass. So I just try to watch as much content as possible. Whenever people make that conversation of, you hate black women, you hate black women, my question is, why do you relate to that as a black woman? It would be no different if I see a viral fight and I see 2 Mexicans people and they start fighting and they say, hey, nigga, squab up. There's always somebody saying, oh, I don't see no black people in there. Why are you looking for the black person? Why can't nigga just be a word? Like, why are you individually looking for the black person? If a person says, I don't want a person who's ratchet, I don't want a person who's violent, I don't want a person who has fake nails, or whatever the case may be, why are you saying, oh, so you don't like black women? Fresh and Fit, there's plenty of ratchet white women on that podcast. The majority of the people that they cuss out and kick out are the white girls. They don't even kick out a bunch of black women on their podcast, funny enough. So I just don't understand. And the only way I could like sum it up, at this point, black men are like the vending machines of happiness for black women. You put in the smallest amount of money, you expect the biggest candy bar. When it gets stuck on the coil, you punch the glass and get mad and you feel like you got robbed. It is just like, I just don't understand what black women expect from black men when we get little to no consideration as human beings. Way past the, oh, you're a man, you're not supposed to put your hands on a woman. We understand that concept. But as a human, I'm supposed to get punched in the face, get emasculated, get disrespected, be treated in any type of facet. And once we switch the colors or the gender, we get it. If a white woman was doing that, oh, get Becky. If a white man was doing that, okay. If the black man was doing that, oh, knock him out. Oh, world star. We understand all these concepts. But as soon as a black woman is inserted, she just gets this halo energy of just do nothing, no wrong. And I don't logically understand it. I would love to, but I it's not clicking.
So it looks like I have Hakeem who called in, and he was putting some good questions in the comment section related to your comment. So I figured I'd have him come up and ask him yourself. Hey, Hakeem.
Hey, Shaz, how are you doing?
Good. How are you? So I saw
always a pleasure being on here as always.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts? So I saw you had some questions for him.
Brother, what's your name, brother?
LaSalle.
How far back do you know Tommy Sotomayor, and how familiar are you with him?
I've been watching him for a minute. I will not say that I watch him closely, but I've seen his face for years.
Okay. So have you heard some of the comments he's had specifically? And you know, because I've been on YouTube for a while. Have you heard the comments he's had specifically for black women?
Pretty lewd, pretty vulgar. But I've always also seen him talk about white women. I've seen him talk about women in general. I do believe he adds spice for black women, but I have another comment for that. But say what you was gonna say.
No. I just had a question because I think you see where I'm getting at. That part of the problem. I'd be lying here if I didn't say a part of me had a smile, you know, when, you know, I won't be petty, but I call him Tammy was suckered. Now, if it wasn't Tommy himself, I think you would see most of us would have, you know, sympathy and the narrative would be different. But the problem is that people like him, if you look at his rhetoric and you look at the message, it screams race traitor. Now, don't get me wrong. It's just as if what Fresh and Fit did, because those two are peas in a pod. Because let me bring this to your attention. If you look at it specifically, they went in 110% on their disdain for dark-skinned women specifically. Just like Tommy, they will never do the same to any other groups of women.
Did you say that Fresh and Fit when in their disdain for dark skinned women?
Yeah, I'm saying both Fresh and Fit and Tommy, if you observe them and you've known them for, you've watched them for a while, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. They've had the same vitriol to their own women. And
I've seen them have vitriol to women, period, that perceived as disrespectful and rude to them. That's what I see. Whether I agree with them personally or not, their actions, like I said, on their podcast, the primary people that they kick out is white women. The primary people that they kick out in Frank Castle is white and Latin women. They don't kick out or cuss out a lot of black women. So I hear what you're saying, but I think the difference between saying, and this comes back to my point, there's a big difference between saying I hate black women and I hate ratchets. And unfortunately, they didn't make that distinction. That's where their error is. I don't personally think that they hate black women. He literally was just accused of having a illegitimate baby with a light-skinned black woman or whatever. They date black women. Fresh, or no, the little one, the Jamaican one, I think, from the islands. He was married to a black woman, Haitian. So I think that there's a big difference between saying I don't hate ratchet women that are rude and disrespectful and loud, and drawing the distinction between saying, hey, I don't like dark-skinned black women. That's on their part that they didn't make that distinction, but you can see that through their actions. Anybody that's rude and with the rah-rah, they kick them out. French, Russian, it don't matter. They kick them out. They kick out men that are rude and disrespectful. And I don't even like their content, but I'm not going to spit out lies just because I don't agree with them.
Yeah, but I guess the question I'm asking is, my question specifically, is there specific insults that he takes it up tiers for black women that he will not do? This is Tommy specifically, that he will not do for other races of women.
I would do the same thing to be respectful. And the reason I would do that is because I'm not really trying to date or start a family with a white woman. She can act a fool if she wants to. I don't care. I don't want to be with Becky. I want to be with Brenda. So if Brenda is acting an ass, I'm going to speak about her specifically because I want her to do better. If I really thought she was garbage, I wouldn't expect anything from it.
But here's what I'm saying to you, brother. This is what you got to understand. There's a difference between, so if you have a family, right? You have a family, you have grievances with what they do and how they handle things. Do you air your dirty laundry to the public?
I'm trying to understand. If I was running a podcast or a show, I probably would talk about personal situations. That's probably not the answer you want to hear, but I'm not understanding, because you're trying to make it seem like he just goes on air as a random person. Like he runs a whole media business talking about these issues and talking about this stuff. So,
but you didn't answer my question.
That same thing.
My question was very specific, brother. I said, if you have a family member, a family in general, and they do things you disapprove of, do you go to strangers and air out your dirty laundry to them?
To talk about what they did? Yes. To seek a solution. I would have a conversation. Like, why is my cousin doing this dumbass shit? I would have that convo.
Yeah, but here's the thing about, I think, the message that you may see that you don't understand. There's ways to do it, and there's ways that you do it to seek a solution, and there's ways that you do it to kind of draw and spark controversy and a reaction. Now, you seem like a smart brother, so you can't tell me Tommy Sotomayor's content is that of a noble person who is seeking to understand things and to get points across.
But that's the about of the point. I don't like Cynthia G. I don't want to see her get punched in the mouth.
Allow me to finish.
It don't make sense.
Allow me to finish. So
sorry.
We're sticking to the subject here because Cynthia G is not involved. This is Tommy specifically. Tommy's content specifically does not inspire any sort of nobility or character that if you're trying to be a man, a respectful man in this society, that you should align yourself with. You could tell by the content of his words, his actions, and even how he carries himself. You can observe and see that for yourself. And what I'm saying to you is that we're not, I'm right with you. I agree with you. It's not right what happened, but the pushback that you're getting and what we're saying is that you can't defend him and say, well, he does this to all women. He specifically makes it his mission to raise it up a notch when he's dealing with black women. He does not do that with other groups of women, and he's dealt with those groups of women.
That wasn't my defense. My defense is that despite what he's saying, what does that have to do with physical violence? Like, I don't understand this idea that if I don't like you, I have to wish the worst for you and put you under the dirt. I don't understand that, because then at that point, who makes the rules? Is it just, oh, we all agree that we rock with them, so they're infallible? Or is, oh, we don't like them, so anything that they do, we throw them under the bus? Again, I have not been advocating for anything that Tommy Sotomayor says. All I'm saying is that there is a general understanding of how people approach. For instance, with the Fresh and Fit, we all know what they do. But once you draw distinctions between what you don't like and ignore the other stuff that is being done, I do think is disingenuous. So when a Asian doll comes on there and they kick out Asian doll, they hate black women because he kicked out Asian doll. But they ignored the 70 white women and the 2 white dudes that they kicked out for the exact same reasons that Asian doll exhibited. That's all I'm saying. There's no consistency. If we don't like somebody, that's fine. I just don't understand the consistency.
Right.
One more point, Jojo. Let me get this in. That's not the point I'm making. When you got on air, you made an equivalency and an argument for black men and how we're treated. And my point to you being is that I agree with you, but that's not, in this situation, that's not the point to bring this up at. That environment of Fresh and Fit, where Tommy Sotomayor has been on there multiple times, it invites this sort of behavior. It's a Jerry Springer type environment. You can't come to that environment and not expect that sort of thing to happen. It's almost like me saying, okay, I'm going to go to a strip club, but then if I get caught there, they came on to me, basically. You have to kind of put yourself in a situation where you have to be prepared as men, especially if you're a man where you have a reputation to protect. You can't just put yourself in a certain situation and then claim victim afterwards. Now, this sort of thing happens on that show. And the reason why it happened to him, I don't know if you saw Miss Shardae's clip, those two had history together. Am I mistaken?
No, they had history together, but I still am confused. And I feel like this still feeds back to my original point of, we are expected to be literal omniscient. We got to see in the future, avoid every single concept except of just addressing, hey, keep your hands to yourself, because the whole show was fine. It wasn't until the very last minute of the show where she tried to put him on blast. It led to an argument due to their past dealings, because they sat next to each other the whole show. Mm-hmm. Everything was fine. She decided at the last moment to flare something up. They went back and forth. Should he have been disagreeing with her, calling out her name? No, he didn't have to do that. Did she have to stand up and tower over him as if he was about to throw him through the window? No. Now, does she wait until somebody cuts her off to then throw a punch? She should have done that? No. Should have been here? Like, there's all these different conversations. And again, it comes from a place of empathy. We try to see, why did she do what she did? And it never applies to a man. There's never, oh, dang, maybe it hurt. Maybe he's had past histories with women hitting on him. Maybe he had a flashback of when his mom used to beat him with a coat hanger. We don't know, but we never even try to have the conversation. That's been my only point. Right. We try to think of these excuses for women, what they do. But when a man, there's never an excuse. It don't matter how bad it is, no matter what happened to him, no matter the circumstances. He's supposed to be Gandhi out here. And I just don't understand that.
Right. I do want to give a chance for Jojo to interject. I know you've been listening. What do you think about some of the points being made, Jojo?
Hey, how everybody doing? Hakeem, I ain't taking it personal, man. You know I rock with you, dog.
Yeah, no worries, brother. You do your thing.
That's my guy. Hey, so I don't know how to really approach it, because I don't want to offend the brother that's on the panel, man, because he said some real stuff that was kind of like, I don't know if he is informed really on the people that he's supporting. I'm a part of the other sector that are B1 pro-black and FBA and all that old stuff. And what happened was some people from our sector checked Fresh and Fit. Farrah Gray, Dr. Khalid, Malik Zula Sabaz, these people checked them for what they said towards black women. They called black women darkies. They say they don't deal in the dark. They don't mess with the Waukeshas. and all that old stuff right there. And these were insinuations to derogatory terms towards our sisters. I got family members by the name of Keisha. You know what I'm saying? And so at the end of the day, the reality is, who do I stand for and who do I be on code with? See, the thing with Tommy he had it coming for him, regardless of, even though I understand that women shouldn't be hitting on men, men shouldn't be hitting on women, but you're surrounded by men that hate black women. That whole panel hate black women. Fresh and Fit and Tommy. So you got three dudes that hate black women and they love exploiting black women. So we put the most ignorant of our sisters on that panel to deal with some of the most hateful of our people that look like us. And you get what you get. And that's what you get. It's always some chaos and some mess going on over there. They ain't gonna last long. Well, that's what I'm gonna give you that much. I'm gonna just be honest, because something's gonna happen where the violence really goes to a whole nother level and they won't be able to contain it. You know, and it's
Can
sad.
I respond to some things you said earlier in your statement?
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, man. I need to hear what you got to say, man. Go ahead.
Again, this comes back to my initial point. I never said I supported them, but anytime I'm just saying, hey, all I said was keep your hands to yourself. That's really what I said. I said remove the context that you don't like them. Remove the context that they hate black women. Whatever you want to put on his name. It doesn't have to resort to physicality. That's all I've said. But the fact that I just said that, you're saying I support them, even though I clearly said I don't like their content.
You said, this is what you said. You said something about all the other people. That's one thing I learned about us. Some people that are, don't really have the
go into depth. You said I said all the other people. What do you mean? What did I say?
When you said that all the other people that they kick off the show and all of that, right? We talk about everybody else but us. We try to include ourselves and everybody else. Black people are like some type of melting pot when it comes to situations and circumstances with other people. Instead of focusing on our own issues, we're displaying this ratchet culture. We're going up there propagating and supporting and exploiting ourselves to these idiots, right? This ain't the normal Black America. This is not what I see every day. I promise you that. But this is what they
out of context of what I said. That's out of context. The reason I talked about other people.
I can't really take what you're saying out of context because, see, I'm on code. I don't think you understand what that is. So that's on a whole nother level. So, like, just like the white man have a narrative, being on code got a narrative. And I don't support people that bash our black women, man.
And that's fine.
I don't support that at all.
Fine.
Now, correct me. No.
Nobody spoke against that point. The reason I said out of context is the reason I stated that they kick out all the other white women. Because if we just use pure numbers, if they kick out 15 white women and kick out 3 black women, do they really hate black women? If we take it away from their statements, and I referred to their statements to say they made a terrible decision of not clarifying between they don't like bad behavior, which is ratchet or whatever the case may be, and aligning that with a dark-skinned black woman. I made that very clear.
Now, if I may, real quick, because I feel like you guys are all saying something that I feel like is, kind of on the same page, but maybe it's coming from a different perspective. So I want to make sure I understand. Is it Lazelle Reactions?
LaSalle.
Okay, LaSalle Reactions. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, what it sounds like to me you are saying is that you don't support Sotomayor, yada yada, but this to you shares as an example of double standards, right? That in any and every situation, a black woman, if she's out of pocket, if she's acts out of line, there can be sympathy, there can be empathy. Whereas if it's the man coming from the man's point of view, black men in particular, there's never any situation where there's empathy. I think what I hear Hakeem and JoJo is saying is that Tommy Sotomayor is the wrong hill to die on. He is not anyone that we should represent as far as like your general black man.
And that's fair. And to respond to that, the only reason I'm even speaking about it is because it's visual. Like when we talk about domestic abuse statistics, a lot of it is mutual combat. We don't, like, for instance, let's say a girl was harmed in a domestic violence type of situation. There's never a question of what led up to it. I mean, did you approach me with the weapon? Did you talk about my dead mother? Like there's never a conversation of what really drives a man to make the decisions that he's making. I tried my best to remove it from Tommy Sotomayor, and I tried to remove it from Fresh and Fit by showing that, hey, maybe they approached it from they don't like bad behaviors. I'm not saying I like their content or not. And if y'all want to say, hey, these are not the people that we should be supporting, I agree with you. But all I'm saying is I saw for the first time in a very long time, I saw what happens on a continual basis, but it was visual. It's always a conversation of what did the man do as opposed to what did the woman do to even get a man in that position. It never gets discussed, and we can visually see it. For 2+ hours, everything was cool. The last moment, she instigated something. They went back and forth. I don't feel like he should have been arguing, calling out her name to get to that point. But then because she's emotionally riled, she has clear leeway to put her hands and do whatever she wants to do. She can hit Tommy. She can hit the person that was trying to hold her back. She could damage equipment. She could do anything. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be Tommy Sotomayor. It could be me. It could be Terrell down the street. The same situation happens because it always leads up to these type of situations where a lot of times Black women are the aggressor, but we try to show the empathy. Maybe they weren't raised with their father. Maybe they're emotional. Maybe they got postpartum, whatever the case may be. We try to get with them on a fundamental mental level and see, why did you do what you did? We literally never do it for Black men. That's it.
But here's where you couldn't, and I hate to jump in, Jojo, but here's where I'm going to have to hold you accountable. I asked you a question specifically. That type of environment on Fresh and Fit, does it not provoke that type of behavior we saw happen?
I think you put Tommy in the middle of a Walmart is going to provoke something.
But
that still doesn't excuse bad behavior.
He adds gasoline to it. But if
a white person calls me the N-word, I still don't have the leeway to slap him. I don't understand his logic.
I asked you a specific question. Does that type of environment provoke that sort of behavior we saw on display? It's a yes or no question.
Yes, it's still not excusable.
It doesn't. But here's the thing.
It does matter. It's still not excusable.
But here's the point, brother.
If I slap a white person for being racist, I got to go to jail and I got to pay the consequences for that. I can't let that white person get me so riled up to put my hands on them.
But here's the thing.
It don't matter.
Have you watched the Jerry Springer show before?
Yes.
Okay, so what tends to happen on there?
Staged fights.
Okay. Now there's some chatter on the internet that Fresh and Fit does the same thing. And with the stuff they say and the way that they make their points, they love controversy. And they love riling people up. They love playing on people's emotions. They love having people, that's the kind of stuff they orchestrate, because in their mind, bad publicity is still publicity, and that's the kind of sector they want to be in. So you making this whole point that, oh, Black men, this is what we go through. That what I'm trying to specifically tell you is that scenario and that incident is a bad example to take this point at.
Exactly.
It's not a bad example, and I understand what you're trying to say. Let me first start. I understand what you're trying to say, and I see where you're coming from. The problem is that we don't know how to separate stuff. What I'm saying is that is a visual representation of what happens. Oh, you got a little D. You got this. That's why you're broke. And it leads to arguments. Then a Black woman can feel comfortable to be physically aggressive towards a man, and it could lead to other things. I've seen it happen with my own eyes. I've had it happen to me. I'm 6'2", 220. I don't have issues with men in the real world. I'm not the scariest guy. I'm not the street guy, but I don't have problems dealing with men in conflict. We have a conversation, and if that doesn't work, we can handle some other place. The most aggression I receive is from Black women because they think that I will not hit them back. Not even the fact that they're so upset or whatever the case may be. They have a clear understanding that they can hit me, and it is not in my job to hit them back. If you want to focus on the fact that Tommy said hurtful things about Black women and that incentivizes him to deserve a physical treatment, I'm not making that argument because I think it's a bad argument. Because if you want to talk about accountability would tell you don't put your hands on a person. It don't matter how much they rile you up. Don't put your hands on a person. That's what I'm arguing. That's the accountability. Don't put your hands on a person, because guess what? If she did not put her hands on that person, we would be having a completely different conversation. Why did Tommy Sotomayor cuss her out and disrespect her? Then y'all would be on par. It would make sense. What? Oh, there Tommy going again, disrespecting black women. Let's get on his head, because that's what he would be doing, as opposed to the black women escalated it, put his hands on him, and we're over here still trying to figure out how many hits could he have took without retaliating, or what should he have done?
I'm saying something very specific that you keep dancing around. I'm saying if you put yourself in that environment, I'm going to say clearly, if you put yourself in that type of environment, that's what you're going to get. And you just acknowledge that Tommy is gasoline in that type of environment. Now, is it smart to sit next to a lady where you claimed you heard the clip between her, with her telling her accounts of her knowledge, her relationship with Tommy? Is it smart to sit next to that person, go to that type of show, sit next to that kind of person, and then claim ignorance?
So he's supposed to play musical chairs. He's the guest. The guest always sits in the middle of the table.
Well, you didn't answer my question. It's a yes or no question. Is it smart?
Hold on. First thing first. Hold on. Hakeem. When I ask and when I have a conversation, you're able to dance around. You're able to add context. But when it comes to me, I got to be very straightforward to give you the answer that you.
Because I'm asking you a yes or no question, brother, and you keep dancing around it. You've not asked me dancing around anything.
I've been referring to everything that you said.
But I asked you yes or no question. You answered it back with a question. You don't answer.
I added the content. I said, are we playing musical chairs? And I said, that doesn't make sense because the guest always sits in the middle. Is he supposed to stand to the left or the right where the camera will not see him?
But here's the thing. I asked you a simple question. They had knowledge with each other before the show even started. Okay. You claimed you saw the clip.
I saw a majority of the show. That's what I saw a majority of the show.
Okay, but is it smart, knowing that they have history, if you're a man and you know that what happens in the environment, is it smart sitting next to the person and going on a show and sitting next to that very person that you know has history and you know sparks can fly? Is that a smart thing to do?
No, it is not smart. But if he's able to go 2 hours without an issue, and the last 4 minutes, which was instigated by the women, was he supposed to foresee those 2 hours of nothing happened throughout the 2 hours?
Here's what I'm saying.
Literally about to end the show.
Yeah, go ahead, Jojo. Go ahead.
Can I just interject?
Please.
What I think, brother, what you missing is the table of the whole situation. The table is this: Fresh and Fit podcast is toxic. Period. You go on there, toxic stuff happens. Period. Agreed. So anybody in the chat talking about somebody simping, I love black people, period. I simp for black people, period. But if you act crazy and you talk bad about black people, then guess what? You off code. I'm not trying to be a part of you. I only support those who support me. I don't support that sister for hitting them in the face, but guess what? He had it coming. That's why I stand on it.
And I don't understand why. Again, I'm not even arguing with y'all. I just don't understand the logic. I do not understand the logic of, we understand, do not put your hands on people. But if he don't like you, knock him out. I don't get it. I just don't understand that point. That's the only point I've been arguing. I do not argue his points. I don't argue Tommy Sotomayor. I don't argue Fresh and Fit. I don't agree with majority of the stuff that they say.
All right. So let's reverse it. Let's reverse it. Put it like this. Just say, and I say that for real. So I'm so on code with it, bro. Just say the Grand Wizard of the KKK was laying in the middle of the road, getting stomped out. Now I already know the hate that he's done, the atrocities that he's done to black people and things like that. I'm just gonna go and stomp him out too, bro. I'm just down. I'm B1.
So
his head finna turn into a basketball.
And the logic to me is that if I do stomp him out and something happens and I get locked up, now I got to make sure my bail money's set up. I got stuff I got to do tomorrow. I can possibly get fired from my job because I'm locked up. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about the logic. I'm not talking about the morality.
I
don't understand these conversations about morality. I don't get it. I'm talking about logic.
No. I understand that you feel that the white power structure and the power that the white power structure has over you. You feel the consequences of what the white power structure would do to you because of what you do for standing up for your own or standing up for something that is right. We got to change the narrative. That's all I'm saying.
That, but okay.
You're thinking. I get what you're saying with the logic as far as being fair. Yes, being fair. Yeah, she shouldn't have hit him. Being fair, but that's Tommy Sotomayor, bro. Like,
I don't understand why it has to go past that. Like, why? So when it's in Black culture, we don't believe in fairness and what makes sense no more. I don't understand.
But I think at the end of the day,
I'm a little lost.
Well, and like I said, I could be wrong, but I think at the end of the day, there's just Thomas Sotomayor has supporters, and there's also a lot of men who just don't like him. So they're kind of like, yeah, we don't agree with her. This is a bad scenario, and also I just like him so much that I'm kind of happy I saw him got punched. I think there's just people out there at the end of the day, they just don't like him because of what he said, because of what he's done. They're just like, you put yourself in a situation where you as a grown man know that you could have experienced these things. I don't feel sorry for you. You're a grown man. I mean, I just think at the end of the day, they're just like, Thomas Sotomayor is the wrong hill to die on. So I hear where you're coming from, and I hear where they're coming through too, where it's just like, if it was anybody else, this might be a different situation, but him?
And I think that's my argument. I don't think it would be that because we've seen it in other situations. We've seen it plenty of times. There are 1,000 World Star Hip Hop videos and movies where Black man is getting hit 2-3 hits and finally he retaliates and why'd you should have walked away, you should have bear hugged her, you should have. It's all these conversations. So I want to make myself very clear. Hakeem, JoJo, I'm not arguing to defend Tommy Sotomayor for his talking points. I'm just defending the fact of I don't understand why when we get emotionally charged, it's okay for us to put our hands on somebody or act out. As much as JoJo was saying he simps for the Black culture, I'm not simping for bad behavior. Not and that doesn't even apply to Tommy Sotomayor. He said some goofy shit. We're going to talk about him saying some goofy shit, but there's a big difference between you saying something in a YouTube channel that can be spread out to millions and we can fact check it, or we can tear it down logically, or we can have a conversation and say, hey, what you said was stupid, as opposed to you physically putting your hands on somebody and now escalating things to where damages can happen. People get sued. People can get harmed. You understand what I'm saying? Again, empathy. If this was another person, we don't know their background. They probably could have a psychotic episode. Go back to the time that they was 3 years old getting touched by their auntie and knock somebody out. We don't think about that, but we have that same empathy to where she was upset. She was riled up. Tommy Sotomayor is the boogeyman. So you know what? Yeah, put your hands on him. I can never cape, simp, whatever adjective. I can never support that because that doesn't make us look good. Just because we're morally, our character is right, we're fighting oppression. We're just going to be out here doing a bunch of stuff that doesn't make logical sense. I can't support that. I'm sorry.
But here's what I'm saying, and I'll wrap this up because I know Chad, you're trying to. But here's what I'm trying to say. At the end of the day, you said you didn't cape for him or Fresh and Fit, but you do realize you made a false equivalency argument saying he does this to other women. That's the problem I had with what your point is. My argument is a little bit different than JoJo. I see where he's coming from. But my point is that you did indirectly do that. You made a false equivalency saying, and because I asked you a specific question, I was very specific because I'm very specific with my words. I said specifically, give me an insult equivalent to what he says to Black women that he's done to other groups of women. And he has not. You can't find it. It's not out there. So my whole point being is what I'm saying, brother, is that at the end of the day, we can't control the narrative as far as when a situation occurs. But the best prevention us as Black men we have afforded to us is being proactive. Meaning, if you see a woman and she has bad character flaws, you do your best to stay away from her. If you see an environment that has kind of drama and is Jerry Springer-esque, like Fresh and Fit, if you go on a show, you live with the results of what happens. I'm not saying it's justified, even though I was petty. Part of me enjoyed it a little bit because of who the person was. But all I'm saying is, to answer your question specifically, the best prevention. The breast protection is prevention, meaning control what's in your control. Don't go into an environment when you know that's happening. That's all I'm saying. And at the end of the day,
I say one thing to respond to?
Yes, go ahead.
And shout out to JoJo. He probably don't rock with me. That's cool, but I appreciate what JoJo had to say. I appreciate what you're saying. I guess I'm still a little lost of where does that start and where does it end? Because if we're sitting here and you're saying I made a false equivalency of basically accepting his behavior because they do it to other white people, why is it then thrown on to me of the false equivalency isn't the same level of, oh, well, you shouldn't hit him, but it was kind of funny. I don't get that. That's one part. And then the second part is, where does it change? If it's, hey, black men, don't deal with these type of women that have these bad characters, or don't deal with these type of situations, but these situations are slowly becoming the norm. Where do we go? And then if we do date out of our race, or if we go outside, we could be race traders and, oh, you don't love your mother. I don't understand. I'm just trying to, again, understand the logic. I'm not even trying to come at you at all. I just don't understand where it starts and stops.
All I'm saying is this. All I'm saying is, just like you buy a car, you do a car fact check. You fact check the most important decision you're going to make in your life is if you decide to get married, who you're going to choose to marry at the end of the day. And most people don't treat it like an interview process. People, when they go through things, they sometimes do it based off of looks and these shallow, low vibration type of observations when they pick whomever they pick. At the end of the day, my point to you is that I take it on a case-by-case situation. My argument with you, I agree with a lot of what you said, but my argument with you is that you kind of use Tommy as like the Trojan horse to say, this is what we black men go through, this, that. I'm saying I'm not going to use someone like that because he's the gasoline that invites that type of behavior. And that show, both of those together are a bad recipe. At the end of the day, we as black men, all we can do is control what's in our control. And if you didn't vet the person hard enough that you're with, or in that case, you go onto a show that you know that's going to happen, you know that you and this girl has history, and you went not only on that show, but you sat next to her. I can't feel sympathy for you. And oh, by the way, your name's Tommy Sotomayor. Now, if that's someone that is more classy, like a lead attorney or someone like that going on that show, you can't tell me that's the same way he's going to handle it. That's all I'm saying at the end of the day, brother.
Okay. I mean, I agree to disagree, but I highly appreciate the convo. And thank you, Shay Sade, for allowing us to talk so long. Thank you.
Always. Thanks again. I do want to briefly read off the super chats. I did see a few come in. I have to go find it. Let's see. And also thank you guys for coming on and sharing your perspective. Shout out to Deanie with the 304. On the super chat 304, he says, why is Tommy dealing with a 304? I'm not excusing her. I mentioned before, anybody who comes on that show knows kind of what they're getting into. They understand, if you've seen even snippets of it or podcasts, you kind of get a sense of what's going on there. So yeah, he decided he wanted to be in that environment. He's been there a few times, so it's not surprising. Also, shout out to Better You. I say you shouldn't be putting your hands on folks unless you're ready for the consequences, regardless of comments. Assume their hands rated E for everyone. That is absolute facts. And also, I want to give a shout out to the beautiful Live. Says apologies, Shay. All good. Where'd you go? Oops. Sorry. Apologies, Shay, that my first chat here was negative. Just passionate about the state of masculinity, femininity in our community today. That being said, love your channel and content and will be supporting moving forward. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Well, as mentioned before, I do appreciate you guys coming in and sharing your perspective. Everyone has a right to their own perspective, and I guess you can agree to disagree, and that's okay. I know at the end of the day, what we all want is what's going to be the best for the Black community, Black men, and Black women. I think we can agree there. So, but I do appreciate you guys calling in And yeah, you guys have a good one.
Always a pleasure. You guys be safe.
Okay. Yeah, so this has been a good chat. I did say I was gonna get another call in there. It looks like I do have a new caller, so I think I'll take one more and then I'm gonna wrap up because I'm getting kind of tired here. It's been a nice long stream. Also, if you guys would like to show support to this show, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo Shay Sade. I'll also be sure to read all super chats that are sent through. I appreciate any support that is given. However, big or small, it is very, very much appreciated. Also, if you like this topic, if you just like my channel in general, please like it, share it. Yeah, like it and share it so we can get the message out there. I appreciate you guys and your support. So, is this Lion Celessi? So I hope I didn't say that wrong. So okay, so what are your thoughts? I know you've had a chance to kind of to hang out here. So what are your thoughts on the topic before we wrap this thing up?
I think that, I mean, Fresh and Fit has already been exposed by was the other Ab and Preach or whatever. And I think that, what I noticed on the space, a lot of people like a lot of ignorancy, and they like to be entertained, and and a lot of black folks, I'm not, in the in the West, what you call it, they like, dysfunction, and they like, the ignorancy that goes on and stuff in some of these spaces. And I think that that as far as the person, like the other guy was saying, nobody talks about what happens with these when a woman hits this person, the woman is always seen as a victim, and black men in the as Canada, UK, America, all the same stuff. And and I think that I think Tommy Sotomayor or any of those guys on Fresh not represented. Those guys are just characters, man. To me, just they're to entertain. That does not represent black men globally. It's sure enough not. You know what I'm saying? So they just want to make a profit off the entertainment, off this off this foolery. So I think that's what I think that's what goes on. And I think that, like, like I said, like, if you in the motherland, after that, no African woman is not gonna get up in your face and trying to do all this type of stuff, because there's a respect for men in those cultures. Here, there's no respect for a dude, man. They think because of feminism, equal quality, then a woman complain and she got knocked the heck out or something, like, then it's like a violence. You think you just go up to a man's face and act a fool? You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's insanity in me, huh? It's just insanity.
I hear you. No, I hear you. I think the situation, it showed a lot. It showed to me, it was kind of reflective of a lot of what's going on. And that's why, the earlier points that all the gentlemen were making, I understand where they're coming from. One being like, hey, like, in general, we see these kinds of situations. Black men are never considered, right? Others just like, Tommy Sotomayor is the wrong hill to die on. He is of a trashy person, right? You have that perspective, and there's all these different angles you can take. But at the end of the day, whether it was Tommy Sotomayor or not, as I mentioned earlier, if we just look at the data, we see that when we're looking at violence between men and women, especially in the Black community, women are being a lot more aggressive. And I take the position that as women in general, I don't think you should be initiating fights, especially not with men, especially not with men. That can end up being very dangerous. And oftentimes we hear violence and different things talked about in the Black community, and it's always positioned as if the men are the aggressors. And what's rarely talked about is the different ways women instigate and sometimes actually initiate the violence, as we saw in that scenario.
Yeah.
And that's why it was worth reviewing. So.
Yeah. You're right. They try to emasculate, and I think there's a lot of try to emasculate a lot of Black dudes in the West. But my thing is, will they be acting that way with the mayonnaise man? Huh? You know what I'm saying? So when I I don't know what I mean by that. I mean the white dudes, huh? The white people, huh? The white man and stuff like that, or they act a fool, something with that, and they come and sit down somewhere, but then there's a black dude, okay, they act a fool, huh? So I mean, I don't know. To me, I don't know. You get me?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Understand?
You're talking about the lack of respect that is just within the Black community that women, that many women have for men, and feeling like they can treat their men in a particular way that they may not treat other men. So I hear you on that, and I do think that there's some truth to that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I think this is why it's so bad. I think it's like like me, 50 something, 50% dudes are not married, don't have no kids. Then you have another 20% of dudes that date out, huh? So I mean, you know.
So okay, looks like you are cutting up. Yeah, you're cutting up a bit. I'm having a really hard time hearing you.
Okay.
But I do appreciate you calling on. I think you made some good points, whatever I was able to hear. All right, guys. So this has been a good conversation. I think we covered off a lot of different things. As I mentioned before, at the end of the day, I wanted to address the situation because I think it was a mirror into so many different things. As I mentioned before, at the end of the day, women are going to continue to come onto Fresh and Fit because there's many women at the end of the day who just want attention, period. So it doesn't matter what happens. You'll have all these people saying, oh, Black women need to stop going on. They need to stop being disrespected. They need to stop this. We'll see that, right? But at the end of the day, whether or not you think Black women are being disrespected on that channel or not, that is not going to stop a percentage of Black women from going on Fresh and Fit and getting the clout and getting the attention that they want. And that just goes for women, period. So that's not going to change anything. Secondly, I wanted to address this because I think that whole interaction was a reflection on what actually does happen a lot in relationships. When we're talking about domestic violence, so often the narrative is painted about men being the aggressors, men being the abusers, men, and that certainly does happen in certain scenarios. But when we look at the data, as I mentioned in my video, The False Promise of Black Love, and also in the video I created, Are Black Men the Most Violent? When we look at the numbers and the different peer-reviewed studies that I referenced, women in many instances were seen to be the aggressors, the initiators of violence. And we saw that clearly and openly in that scenario. And then lastly, to me, something that was really interesting was the fact that there's never going to be a situation, if the roles are reversed, there would never be a situation where a man could put a hand on a woman and people would ask, does she deserve it? There would never be a situation. Now we can argue about whether or not Tommy Sotomayor is the hill to die on, if he's somebody to rally behind, or if she is. I mean, that's a whole different conversation. I haven't listened to a lot of his content, but what I've heard has been questionable at best. But either way, even if it wasn't Tommy Sotomayor, if it was another individual, another person, if the roles are reversed, and if it was the man initiating the punch, if it was the man initiating the hit, would they be asking, oh, did she deserve it? 9 times out of 10, no. And so we see, even in these relationship dynamics, right, where we want to act as if we're equal, men and women want to, I don't want to say men and women, but, because society pushes this idea and this narrative that men and women need to be equal, yet and still we just simply do not operate that way. And as a woman in particular, I would never encourage a woman to be aggressively violent towards a man. I think that could be very dangerous. We saw that happen there. Luckily, there were security guards and other people there to kind of diffuse the situation to a certain extent. But I just think in general, when we look at the numbers and we see so many different women, based upon data, women are more comfortable initiating violence, initiating doing the first punch, doing the first kick, whatever it may be towards a man, what is that actually showing about what's going on? What is that showing about maybe whether it's level of respect, showing about what we think about men? Because no matter how you put it, from a physical standpoint, men and women just simply are not equal. And I think it can be really dangerous, and it can be really a bad idea as a woman to initiate a situation where you feel like you are justified in being violent. And when we looked at her responses and we looked at what she said after the fact, she felt very justified in doing it. And that to me, what was the most interesting. I'm thinking, here is a woman that we can argue she's been disrespected. Okay, granted, I'm not saying Tommy Sotomayor is perfect or she's perfect, no matter how you put it, but she felt disrespected. Did that give her the right to initiate with physical violence? She felt like it did. If it was the other way around, though, it wouldn't be okay. And so, like I said, I thought the scenario just there were so many different angles to pull from it. But I would say at the end of the day, especially you ladies, please don't be putting yourself in situations where you feel it is okay to initiate violence with a man. When we talk about domestic violence, so often we see the men being the aggressors, but we have to start to hold ourselves accountable and understand that there are things that sometimes we are doing also to initiate, and sometimes we are the ones initiating. And again, of course, this is not always the case, but I don't think it's good to promote a culture that says women can hit, women can slap, women can punch, whatever, no big deal. If men do it, no big deal. I think in all intents and purposes, you should just try to avoid violence, period, when you can. Unfortunately, that wasn't what happened there, but I think hopefully we can take it as a lesson and say, hey, there are certainly better ways to handle anger. There are better ways to handle those kinds of situations. And at the end of the day, there's probably just certain people you don't really need to be dealing with, But those are my thoughts. Guys, those are my thoughts. So I do appreciate you tuning in, hanging out with me tonight. Again, if you would like to show support to the show, hit me on Cash App or Venmo, Shay Sade. I also appreciate all of you who have shown support on the Super Chat. Also, shout out to all of us who have shown love and support. Lastly, if you would like to become a channel member, feel free to do so. I'm going to be dropping the Black Men Built That video later on this month. That is the plan, to get the first video out there later on this month. Members only. So please show support to that. If you would like to. You can do so for as low as $4.99 a month. And yeah, this has been fun, and definitely stay tuned for upcoming content ideas, and we'll talk later. Bye.